Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
General Musharraf, good morning.
Thank you.
At the beginning of General's autobiography, In the Line of Fire, he wrote this, I'm going to quote it to you. The story of my life coincides almost from the beginning with the story of my country, so the chapters that follow are a biography not only of a man, but of Pakistan as well. I'm going to take that literally as license to hold you accountable both for your own story and for your country this morning over the next
Look forward to it.
20 minutes. And I'd like to begin with your current situation, which you seem to have experienced over the past couple of years, a dilemma unique to the 21st century, which was you left a voluntary exile to return home, encouraged by social media support, encouraged by what you were seeing on Facebook, and discovered something quite different when you arrived in Pakistan. You were put on trial for treason. The government wanted to. Do you now regret having returned to your country?
No, sir. No, Robert. I don't regret it at all. And I didn't return because of the social media or the media. I returned for my own vision of what ought to be done in Pakistan. I thought at that time there is a requirement of a third political force to emerge in Pakistan. And I thought with a coalition of some like-minded parties and people, one could create that third political force. So I thought of something bigger than self, really, bigger than myself. I was not bothered about the treason trial because it was all a hoax and politicized. So I knew I'm going to be tried, so I was prepared to take the risk.
Were you disappointed with what you discovered when there wasn't
Yes.
so much support for a third force, as you would call
Yes,
it?
to an extent, yes, indeed. Some quarters where probably support was there, I did get disappointed, yes.
One thing that people say about your being here, about your having been able to leave Pakistan in the spring, despite a no-travel order, was that it confirms what we think about Pakistan often, which is that whatever the government of the day may say, whoever may be prime minister, the army has the power in your country. You're an army guy. The army looked after you. You were able to leave despite the government's effort to keep you there. Fair?
Reasonably fair. The Army has a role, has always had a role since our independence. Army has played a very prominent role in the governance of Pakistan, partially because, or mainly because of misgovernance by all the so-called democratically elected governments. Therefore, we've been having military governments, and the Army enjoys a stature. The people of Pakistan love the Army. The people of Pakistan demand a lot from the Army. So I'm very proud of the fact that, yes, Army has backed me because I've been with them for over 40 years. I fought wars with them. I fought 2 wars, and I fought a number of actions with them. So I know they are my constituency.
But you ruled as a military leader, and many of Pakistan's leaders have ruled in uniform. Apart from what you would say is the people's love for the army, doesn't this reflect some inherent weakness in Pakistan that it is ruled so often by the military?
I would agree. The inherent weakness is, I personally believe that the democracy in Pakistan has not been tailored in accordance with the dictates of the environment. There are no checks and balances within the system. The Constitution doesn't provide those checks and balances. Therefore, the military is forced and pulled, sucked into the political environment, especially when misgovernance is going on, and Pakistan is going down in all socio-economic indicators. The public and the people massively run towards the army chief, and that is how the army gets involved. So therefore, we have to maybe tailor the political structure in accordance with the dictates of Pakistan, introduce checks and balances so that misgovernance does not take place, and the army does not have to come into the politics.
You say the army doesn't have to come into it. Wouldn't some restraint by the army play a role there as well, to say, you politicians are on your own, we are not going to take power?
No, well, we've seen in the 90s where twice each, the 2 main political parties, PMLN and People's Party, led by Benazir Bhutto, they governed Pakistan twice each, between 88 and 99. Both of them misgoverned to an extent that the their selected presidents had to dismiss them and dissolve the assemblies. So that is the condition of misgovernance that takes place in Pakistan. So I would say that the army, as I said, is sucked in. Now the checks and balances have to be institutionalized. May I very proudly say that I was the one who am called a dictator. I introduced those checks and balances. I introduced a National Security Council, which had the president in the chair, prime minister, the chief minister, leader of opposition, chairman Senate, and the 4 military men, which was not liked by many in the West, that the military is getting involved in politics, but that is the environment of Pakistan. May I say that that was the check on good performance by the Prime Minister, a check on the President not to dissolve the assemblies on whims, and a check on the Chief of Army Staff not to take over and impose martial law whenever he wants. He has to go to this institution.
You've said that you don't regret having gone back. You felt you had good reason. Do you still insist? Do you expect to go back?
I think I've returned more confident, more wiser, and bolder, maybe.
But
stronger.
do you intend to return to Pakistan, even if that means standing trial?
I will.
You will?
I will, yes.
You can't imagine...
Because I know that the trial is all politicized. One has to face it. And no risk, no gain, as they say. And for the sake, as I said, I'm thinking above myself, beyond myself. If the government in Pakistan was performing well, I would be the last person to want to go back, because I have served 10 years. I've been the army chief, I've been the chairman, joint chiefs of staff committee, I've been the prime minister, I've been the president. Yeah. What more do I want for 10 years? So therefore, I have no such ambition of going back and ruling again. But I just want people to run Pakistan well, because Pakistan is my passion. Now, when I see that Pakistan is not being run, every individual of Pakistan owes it to this country to make sure that it recovers, it's put back on rail. Because I am confident after 10 years of my rule that Pakistan has all the resources and all the acumen to govern well.
But just to be clear here, you would go back even if it meant standing trial and conceivably being imprisoned at the end of all that.
Well, one has to face everything. But however, I'm not that foolhardy. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I would like to see a correct environment where a political change, as I said, the third political force is a possibility. Yes. And I would like to see that the cases are to a degree at a level where my movements are not restricted. The cases can continue. I'll face them. But I want my movement not to be restricted, because I realize that unless I lead from the front, I wouldn't be able to generate the public support that I would require to create the third political force. You still see yourself in a leadership role. You still feel you could retire. You could go back to Dubai or London, live happily ever after. Yes, indeed.
You still see yourself as a leader of Pakistan.
Yes, I can retire. I'm very happy. I'm enjoying coming to the United States. I love London and I love Dubai also, and I'm very comfortable there. I'm given all the respects anywhere that I go. So I don't have to go back. I agree with you, Robert. But Pakistan is my passion. As I said, Pakistan first.
When Americans try to make sense of our relationship with your country, I think the dominant problem that we think of nowadays was the raid on the headquarters of Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad. When you wrote about him 10 years ago, you supposed he was somewhere up in the border country. Before that, you were quoted as telling people you thought he was probably dead. He turned out to be living in the town where you went to military academy. He was in an army town.
Yes.
What do you say to Americans who recall the circumstances in which bin Laden was living and say, I cannot believe that he got away with that without some support on the inside of the Pakistani government? He must have had some kind of help or sponsor for him to have lived that long that way.
I don't think so. I did not. There is no there was no support from either the intelligence or the government side. Why I say that very confidently is because it is believed that he was there for 5 years. If that be true, then 2 of those 5 years was during my presidency. Now, whether anyone believes it or not, I know for a fact that I didn't know. So let anyone. So
Did you know what all of your generals knew when you were the president of Pakistan?
now I wouldn't be worth my salt if the generals knew and I didn't know. Then that means that I was a useless general. I didn't really lead this army from the front, which I did. So therefore, there is no question that any army man knew and I didn't know.
No intelligence officer in
No, sir.
Pakistan had the faintest idea that this man was living in a military garrison town.
Now, let me tell you that I wonder whether you know what Abbottabad is. It may be it's a military garrison town. Yes, there are a lot of Frontier Force Center, Baluch Center, and the academy, etc. But this is a tourist town. This is the way to the northern area, to the mountains of Pakistan. Tremendous amount of tourists come here. It is an education center, so many colleges and schools of very top level. There is a more than 70% is civilian population here and tourists. So it's not a garrison town like any garrison town that you think of United States that only the military is there. Secondly, let me also say that after he was killed, all the channels of Pakistan went around in that locality interviewing people and asking them, did they know who's there? Not one, repeat, not one said, we knew that it is Osama bin Laden. They did say that we thought that there's some drug cartel person living here, but they didn't know Osama bin Laden.
I mean,
So
the assumption was there was a bad guy living behind those high walls and never being seen outside of his house.
Well, again, now, high walls. See, the United States is not used to walls around houses. You have open spaces. We believe in walls.
We're building more walls, by the way, in our country. Right?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That won't work out, so let me also tell you that. But walls are, even before construction of a house, we build walls around. And that, let me assure you that the walls around that house are not that high. And that house is not so large as everyone thinks here. It's a huge house, palatial building, high walls. No, sir, no high walls, not a palatial building.
But you're explaining this now, well after the fact. At the moment, what was your reaction when you learned that that Osama bin Laden had been in Abbottabad?
Well, there is no doubt that I was shocked. I was certainly shocked. But I have doubts, even now I have doubts, that he was there for 5 years. Maybe he was going and coming. I still believe that. And if he was there in one of the public gatherings that I was talking, a huge public gathering where I was being grilled on this aspect, I finally said that the man living for 5 years in one room with 3 wives and 18 children, I think he must have rang up CIA himself and declared that he is there.
You think he wanted relief from that situation? The problem with the bin Laden story is that it isn't in relations between our countries. It's not a little island of doubt in a sea of trust. There's a perception that Pakistan has used violent Islamist groups, very militant groups, when they have served Pakistan's purposes, Pakistan's security interests, whether in Afghanistan or in Kashmir, and that perhaps that relationship has at times exceeded a level that has been certainly of any interest to the United States. Fair?
Unfair, Robert. Now, let me very humbly say that while this may be the perception here, the perception around Pakistan and my belief also, let me add to it, is that generally United States has a tendency of using Pakistan whenever required and then ditching. Now, this is the perception of the people of Pakistan. Pakistan was with United States till in 1989 through thick and thin. We have fought wars. We were in the Cold War. Pakistan was with the United States. We were members of the CIATO, CENTO, defense organizations. We fought a war in Afghanistan, eliminated the Soviets from there for 10 long years. Everything was happening from Pakistan. The people of Pakistan were totally pro-United States. Now we have to examine what happened beyond 90. And that is where I believe that every time Pakistan felt that we were ditched. We were put under Pressler Amendment. Our F-16s were stopped. All that happened.
Senator Pressler, who cut aid to, whose bill cut aid to Pakistan. When you say pro-American, I mean, in your book, you actually sorted out how you calculated whether or not to assist the United States after 9/11. You were, of course, you were pro-Pakistan first. The question I have is it that you're pro-American, or do we understand Pakistan better to see nearly all its security decisions that are being made with an eye toward India? And that first and foremost, for you as a Pakistani general, was how do I do something that's good for Pakistan in its rivalry with India?
Yes, indeed, absolutely. Let me very frankly say that I'm pro-Pakistan only. I look after Pakistan's interest, and I do everything, and all my decisions are in the interest of Pakistan. They have to be. But within that, I believe our relations with the United States are very much in the interest of Pakistan.
Yes.
So therefore, we have to have good relations with the United States. And beyond 9/11, with whatever has happened, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, etc., there is more reason to have good relations with the United States, not only for bilateral good of Pakistan and United States, but for peace in the region and peace in the world and success in war against terror.
There's been an exchange of fire or an Indian attack in Kashmir just this morning, and talk out of Islamabad, your country's capital, of appropriate responses. If you were in charge, what would be an appropriate response right now? What would you be doing?
I would be counter-threatening India.
Counter-threatening?
Yes, because they are threatening us that they are going to strike us at the time and place of their choosing. Now, this has been said by nobody less than Prime Minister, Defense Minister, and the Military General, the Director General Military Operations. This is a very serious matter. So I did go on a television in one of the interviews. I said, being a military man, I advised that general that you have to war game the plan to the end. Don't stop at that. You will strike at the time and place of your choosing. Then, so what? What will Pakistan do? Obviously, we will strike at the time and place of our choosing. That will escalate the war. So don't do it. So this is, I think, a war hysteria that is being created in India. I repeat, India, not in Pakistan, is an issue. They do that always. This is not the only time. Every time they do that.
We could talk about many more things, but alas, our time is up. So, General Musharraf, thanks a lot for talking with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
It's been an education.
Thank you.